Hi everyone, Robbie Wright here with energytips, and I'm joined today by Andrea De Bueno, who's our social media specialist and usually the woman behind the camera on these things. And I'm going to use her as an example in a minute when I'm talking about gimmicky plans in the market, which is our subject matter for today's video. So there's a couple of them that have always bothered me as a participant in this market, both as a customer and as a fan of it and as an entrepreneur in it. The first one is what we call internally a bullseye plan, and you'll see these plans on various websites and even times to the mail or when you call in somewhere, and you'll see a really great rate compared to everything else in the market if you're coming in right at 1,000 kilowatt hours of usage on a monthly basis. The problem with it is they'll structure these plans to where it's in a range of usage where you get that rate, and it's a tight range, usually somewhere around 800 kilowatts to 1,200 kilowatts. You're good with the rate that they advertised. However, if you move outside of that usage area, using lower, conserving better, or using more because you have a decent sized house or a family or hosting people or what have you, the rates then skyrocket, oftentimes north of 20 cents. So you're never actually getting the rate that was advertised to you in the first place, which is a common complaint that we see in the marketplace and a complaint we have when trying to compete with that as well, because frankly we think it's misleading. So that's gimmicky plan number one. Gimmicky plan number two, I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with it. I just think its design and intent when originally created has sort of varied away into a different usage of it today by the companies putting it out. The second type of gimmicky plan that we see in the market has been around for a long time, and I think for certain people, certain user types, I'm sure it really works well. But for everybody else, I caution you to pause and think about what you're ordering before you order it. And that's the free nights or the free weekends or the free nights and weekends plans. First of all, the free nights plans, typically the free part of the energy charge occurs between the hour 11 p.m. through the next day's 7 a.m. So those 8 hours, if you're using heavily, if you're one of those people who are up all night, great. But for the rest of us, that's your minimal usage period during every day. So your actual savings on that free are pretty small. Similarly, weekends tend to be, we think, very busy for residential users, but it's also when there's relatively cheap power, so it costs less for the electricity providers to provide that power. So it's a good deal for everybody from that perspective, especially if you're using heavily for laundry or the pool or cooking a bunch, but a lot of us aren't. And the trade-off you get, and why I brought Andrea here into this video, is typically those free periods are coupled with a really high rate for the periods in which they're actually billing you. And typically that's about 75% of your actual usage. So I don't know if you were promised that there would be no math, but today there's going to be a little bit of math, and I'll show it to you right here. So Andrea, when she started as an employee here, was with a different provider and showed us her bill, which was kind of funny. Because yeah, she was being charged nothing for about 25% of her usage. It was a free nights plan, I think, or maybe it was free weekends. So of course her rate was zero. However, she was being charged 19 cents during the other periods, which is about 75% of her usage, which came out to about 14.25 cents per kilowatt hour of usage on average, which is too much when you add that plus zero. I say too much because relative to the market, it was about 2.5 cents higher, and about 2.5 cents higher than what we were offering at the time. Rates move, but nonetheless, there's always going to be this component where the energy charge is really high when you sign up relative to the market, and the math typically always serves in the favor of the electricity provider.